Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello guys, welcome back with me Pratiwi. In this video, I will retell you the story of Robert Davila, how easy it is to return to God, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. One day, Nauman Ali Khan, a Mubalik in the United States, gave a speech at a mosque he had not visited in over 4 years. Suddenly, after the praising, an Egyptian came to him and he said, God has answered my prayer. No one was confused. Do the prayers of this Egyptian. He said his prayer for Nauman Ali Khan to meet with Robert Davila. Nauman grew confused and he asked the Egyptian, Are you Robert Davila? Said the Egyptian, No, my friend Robert Davila. Robert Davila is a young American living in urban territory. He was a farmer and was infected with a genetic disease that would one day kill him. He became paralyzed from the neck down. He's staying in a nursing home. Most of the householders were 90 or 100 years old. He lived in his room, 30 years old, for about 10 years. His family gave him a voice-controlled computer so he can surf the internet, Google, and read a lot of stuff. His family was devout Christians and prayed in a religious way each week. His friend also lived in a nursing home with him. His friend was paralyzed too and had to perform a liver transplant. They often discuss God and religion. They're a pair of good friends. Eventually, the friend found a donor for his liver. The friend was delighted and said goodbye to Robert. As he was about to recover, suddenly, the friend left, entered the room and did in the operating room. Her sister gave her a memento gift of the amulet of Jesus, crossed on Robert's left side of the bed. Clocks ticking, Robert's having a good day. They took care of Robert. Robert was happy. Until one night, he dreamed of meeting a man named Muhammad. Muhammad in the dream pointed to the proclaimed cross on his bedside and said, God didn't send messengers, so they would worship the messengers. God sent messengers so that you could worship God. And Jesus was just a man. He walked in the supermarket and he ate food. Meaning more or less is God didn't send man to worship apostles. God sent the prophet to make man worship God. Jesus is human. He walks the market. He eats dishes. The dream ends. Robert wakes up. He captured the central message that Jesus was the man, and the man who told it in his dream was called Muhammad. So he started Googling information about Muhammad on the internet. He discovered Islam. He was full of faith. After his martyrdom, he began to study Al-Quran. He was looking for a way to read Al-Quran. By Skype, Robert interacted with an Egyptian who taught him to read Al-Quran. After he read Al-Quran, he practiced to recite it. Robert managed to memorize 10 letters from the bed. Robert began to learn about this religious prophet. Yet he began to feel the need to understand the meaning of Quran reading. Then he googled how to understand Al-Quran and finally reached him in a video lecture from Nauman Ali Khan. He continued learning Islam from video to video. In the nursing home, an Egyptian was used to performing repairs. The Egyptians have their own interesting stories. He lost his faith. The mosque with him was 50 miles away, so he didn't go to prayer on Friday anymore. But he felt a spiritual need. So he went to church to draw near to God. He was raised a Muslim, but went to church to draw closer to God. One day, while performing this Egyptian repair, passed by Robert Davila's room and heard a, a scripture sung by Wal Asri Innal Insana Lafi Khusr, the first verse of Al Asr. The Egyptian stopped his step and entered the room and he asked Robert, "What are you listening to?" Robert answered. It was his own voice. A little surprised, the Egyptian asked, "Are you Muslim?" Robert Davila replied, "Yes, I am decision. The more the Egyptian is shocked. How God interacted a paralyzed man in the middle of a large city in America, in a house of care that at his bedside hung a cross cropped by Jesus. The Egyptian said, "I want to return to God, Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala." They became friends and then they shared the spectacle, one of which was the video of Nauman Ali Khan, the means that Robert Davila studied Islam. Robert prayed that he would meet Nauman Ali Khan someday. The prayer was granted. The Egyptians met Nauman Ali Khan at a mosque which Nauman has not been there in 4 years. Then they went together to meet Robert Davila. Nauman and the Egyptian in the care home. The local nurse was shocked. "What do you have in mind for this Muslim here?" Until the nun had to consult with the hospital manager to decide whether or not to let Nauman and the Egyptian see Robert. Not only was the sister surprised, Robert was shocked. When they were allowed to meet, they spoke to each other. After a while, Nauman asked Robert to read a letter he knew by heart. Robert responded, reading the letter of Al-Asri, hearing one verse at a time. The tears come from the three brothers' eyes. So, in my opinion, in this Ustad Nauman discourse, he explained that the life of God come to those who have come to trust in Him. Beautiful and inspiring to Robert's story. May there be a lesson to be taken and a way for us to always be eager to learn this religion. Proudly and loudly, saying that I choose Islam because this is the true religion. It is not just that we are born into a Muslim family and have become Muslims without being able to explain the truth of this religion. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you for watching. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.